Welcome to Inclusive Starter Key Session. So today's session we'll be talking about inclusive and accessible social media. My name is Jordan Saunders. My pronouns are she, her. My visual description is I have brown skin. My hair is half up, half down, and I am wearing a black and white striped shirt. I am sitting in a black and white chair, and in the background on top of my white desk is a stack of books and a gold reindeer. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to sharing all the information about how to ensure your social media is inclusive and accessible. Now keep in mind, this is just a shorter version, so we have a longer version as well that will cover more in detail about other ways to make your social media inclusive and accessible. These are just reference keys, so for you to be able to continue to reference back and to get started with actionable ways to ensure everyone is included. So to give you a little bit of background information about me, your session host, I have been a speech language pathologist for over 11 years, and I switched to start my own business as the CEO of the Resource Key, which solely focused on inclusive and accessible marketing. And my journey really started after listening to all of the children and adults that I worked with over the years, as well as observing and how each individual felt like they were not included in the community, as well as I observed that with a lot of different children and adults that I worked with different disabilities. Marketing, I feel like, has a huge impact on how we perceive things, and that is why I founded the Resource Key to really change the narrative surrounding how people view people with disabilities, as well as ensuring inclusion and accessibility in marketing. So, fun fact, I've worked across 7 different industries over the years, ranging from hospitality to the funeral home industry. And through those different experiences working in different industries, I feel that a lot of my perspective in just how I view the world, and even from a business perspective, has helped me to continue to grow and also utilize my experience in those different industries to contribute to my business. I have aphantasia, which, if you're not familiar with it, I am not able, when I close my eyes, if you say to visualize a horse running, I'm not able to bring those pictures up to be able to visualize that. So that's the best way to be able to explain that. A lot of people are able to close their eyes and visualize. So they really, when anyone references aphantasia, a lot of times the definition would be image-free thinking. So I'm not able to create pictures of familiar objects, people, or places in my mind's eye. So like when I close my eyes, I'm not able to bring up a picture of something. I would definitely say I'm a program builder. I love to build things, and so I think that carries over into a lot of the work that I do as well over the years, and also at the Resource Key. All right, so here pictured on the screen are 2 different images. So one is a picture of a single key, and the other picture is a picture of multiple keys. And I love these 2 different images because it really describes how I view accessibility. A lot of times we think that accessibility would be from one angle. So if I am able to get this, then everything will be accessible. And I would say my perspective was like that based off of when I was doing direct speech therapy, a lot of times, depending on the individual that I was working with, I would think from more of a single-minded perspective. So from the one key, where, all right, if this person has these types of accommodation supports, then that's it, and they may not need anything else. And that's not how it is in reality. So really just stepping outside of the therapy room has allowed me to shift my perspective as well and to see how many different keys. That's why I love the image of the mailbox keys, and some of the mailboxes are closed, some of them are open with the different keys, because I really think accessibility is ongoing. There's so many different layers of accessibility and so many different aspects and so many different types of disabilities, and no one disability presents exactly like the other. And I think that's the same for accessibility. Even though you may implement one area of accessibility into your business, if you go into maybe a different industry, you may have to adapt, or it may look a lot different. So these are the keys, I like to call them. All right, so the inclusive keys. So now we're at the image with the multiple keys hanging from the different mailboxes. So the 4 areas that I always like to look at when I think of the inclusive keys are alignment is number 1, number 2 is access, number 3 is accountability, and number 4 is attached. So why did I choose those? Well, the first one is alignment. So if you can think of a key, you really need to have it aligned with where you're unlocking in order for the door to open, or whatever you're trying to open. So I think of that as well as with accessibility, because everything is aligned. So you can go into one area and maybe you can have something be accessible, but in order to truly have accessibility, you really need it embedded in every aspect. So everything needs to be aligned. I like to think of it from a business standpoint. Let's say if you go to a website and the website is accessible, but if someone goes to apply for a job and you send them to a external link for your job application site that maybe use a third-party vendor, and that website's not accessible, then we have a disconnect and your process is not aligned. So that's why I really think alignment is a huge key when we're talking about accessibility, because it really equates to how things are aligned. Access, that one goes without saying. In order for you to really ensure all people are included, they need to be able to have access to trainings at work, access to your social media posts. Let's say you're posting a job opportunity on social media and you don't include alternative text. If someone is, let's say, blind and uses an assistive technology, soft screen readers are a form of assistive technology, and they get to an image of your job posting and the alternative text is empty, well, it's going to scan that picture and there's not going to be any information for the person to know what exactly is included in that post. So they're going to miss out and they're not going to have access to that information. So access, really, we have to look at all different components in all different areas when it comes to access. The third one is accountability. We really have to be accountable. It's one thing for someone to tell us, all right, you have to, do this by the end of the day, but it's another thing for us to take the initiative and take the accountability to say, hey, it is just as much as my job to be able to contribute and ensure that no one's left out, and taking on that accountability in the smallest of ways or the biggest of ways. And the fourth one is attached. So this one a little bit goes back to alignment, but when I think of attached, I think of just it's ongoing. It just reminds me even of accessibility journey, that you're always learning and you're always attaching something else to make an experience accessible or a product accessible, whatever it may be. So you're learning and attaching. Nothing's really ever necessarily disconnecting, or you're not really taking something off. Typically, a lot of times with accessibility, or at least in my experience, I've learned something and attached it So I continue to attach these different knowledge points to be able to continue my journey, learning and ensuring accessibility in all areas, as well as I think that can go for maybe other areas too. When we think of from a business perspective, you're trying to ensure at the end of the day everything is attached with maybe your best practices that you're using, or products, or different areas that may be relevant to your business. All right, so the social media keys that we are going to discuss today, and they are pictured on this slide, are hashtags, image description, alternative text, and color contrast. And by each word on this slide, there's an icon that represents each area of the social media keys that we'll be talking about. So the first one, and I know I mentioned it before, but you also have your outline, and there's some other resources that will be helpful when you're referencing the different areas to further your journey. So for hashtags today, we're going to talk about CamelCase. And with CamelCase, when you CamelCase something, you're capitalizing the first letter of the word in a phrase or sentence without spaces. So it will separate the word when, let's say, the screen reader, which I know I discussed earlier, is a type of assistive technology. So if someone that's using a screen reader, it could be someone that's blind or has low vision, dyslexia. A lot of different individuals may use a screen reader, but if the screen reader if someone's using the screen reader and you have hashtags that are all lowercase, it's going to read as a run-on words. So you want to be able to separate that out. So how you do that is by utilizing the CamelCase for the hashtags. And so that would be capitalizing the first letter of the words in a phrase or sentence. And I'll give you an example of this as well by referencing a post on the Resource Key Mentor Demo Instagram page. So here you can see on the Resource Key Mentor Demo page, so I'm going to, there's the resource key, hashtag is used, and as you can see, everything's lowercase. So if that was the screen reader were to read that, it would all be a run-on. So that's an example of me not using CamelCase for hashtags. So if I go and click out of here and go to this next post on the demo Instagram page, you'll see the hashtag, the resource key again, but this time the T in the R in resource, and the K in key is capitalized. And so that would be a good example of CamelCase. So now when the screen reader is reading that aloud to the person that is utilizing the screen reader, it will have everything as separate. So it will read it correctly, the resource key. That's an example of using CamelCase for hashtags. The next area that we are going to look out for the social media keys are alternative text, also known as alt text. Alt text provides the most important details of a picture. I'll show you in this example. We are on the demo page, and let's click on this post. So if I click on this first post, and I click on the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner, and I click on Edit. Accessibility, I'm going to click on. And then if this, you can see where you can add the alt text. And keep in mind, I'm doing this from a desktop computer, and this is on Instagram. So if there's no alt text, when a screen reader goes to read aloud what is pictured on this photo, the alt text or the alternative text will be read as empty. So the person using the screen reader assistive technology will not be able to know what is pictured on this Instagram post. So it's important. It's been really beneficial so that no one gets left out of your social media to use the alt text and make sure you add it. So this is the area that you would add the alternative text. And like I said, keep in mind I'm using a desktop computer. From your phone, I have on Instagram, I'm pulling it up just so that I can explain as well. So on your phone, if you're accessing Instagram and you look at the picture, there's 3 dots at the top right-hand corner on there, and you can press Edit and alternative text, and there's a place where you can type in your alternative text. So I'm going to go to a post that has alternative text. So this post has alternative text, and with the alternative text, I'll click on the 3 buttons, the 3 dots at the top right-hand corner, and here I can see accessibility. I scroll down, and remember, like alternative text, when you type it in, it's usually, if you could summarize the picture, what's happening in the picture, that's the best way to describe it. So for this picture, a person is pouring milk into a mug, preparing a latte with art. So that was the alternative text that I used for this image. And keep in mind, it's a journey with all of this, but just if you get started, it's very helpful because you'll learn different beneficial techniques for writing alternative text along your journey. Great. And then for this image, I have alternative text as well. So if you can think of alternative text, it's like the summary of whatever the photo is representing. So if someone needed a quick summary of what was in the photo, that's what you would want to include in the alternative text or alt text. The next social media key we are going to discuss is image description. And image description, what is the difference? A lot of times people ask between image description and alternative text. So the best way that I always describe it is image description describes the images within your content, but it is a longer description of images and just present it with more detail than alternative text. So if I go to the resource key demo page again on the Instagram, if I click on this image, the same image we used for the coffee mug, the image description I put in brackets. Sometimes you'll also see the image description as ID, as abbreviation. I always write it out just because I always assume that this could be the first time someone interacting with my social media and they may not know what ID means in reference to what my social media page is. So I always like to write out the image description instead of abbreviating it. But some people do ID, and there's nothing wrong with that either, because then you have a description after that. The other thing is here I have the whatever I wanted to post, the message, and then I add the image description underneath. So if you have something you want to write prior to putting the image description, then you can do that here. So for this image, I put person holding stainless steel milk frother in the air with one hand pouring froth milk into mug to make latte with art. In the other hand, the person is holding handle of the mug. Behind the mug is a table. So you can hear the image description is a lot longer. The alternative text was just a quick overview of what the photo was about. The other thing I want to mention is sometimes if you do not have enough room to put, because since image descriptions are a lot longer, if you don't have enough room to put it in your caption, then you can include it in the comments section. So you may see that a lot of times on social media posts as well, where the image description is included in the comments section on maybe on some of the different platforms. And like I said, you'll continue to learn more and more about different things, but this is just how you get started. I do both alternative text and image description because I never know what a person is utilizing in terms of if they're going to use the alternative text or the image description. So for me, best practice, I always just include both. When you learn more about the different platforms, you'll learn more about how you can add it in different places and how everything is set up. This is the tool that I use to check the color contrast for all my social media posts. And like I said, accessibility is a journey. I don't always check every one now, just because I have in mind sometimes what is a good color contrast based off of the different social media posts. All right, so this is called WebAIM, and it's .org. I included it on your outline, so you can just click on the link if you want to play around with the tool later. So here what it has is contrast checker. So the foreground color, the color that's in the front, and it shows you an example here as well. That is the color that I used for the post that was difficult to read. So that was the text color that I used, and then the background color was this purple color. And it will tell you the contrast ratio here underneath those two boxes. So for this one, it's 1.28. It tells you the ratio of it, and it will tell you if it passes or fails. And WCAG is the abbreviation that's here, WCAGAA, and that stands for Website Content Accessibility Guidelines. The A's are the conformance success levels. So this is what it's aligned to. So it has WCAG, and then it has the AA and then AAA. And so it's telling you that based off of those website content accessibility guidelines. And so this color contrast, that would be insufficient and it would fail. It has a very low contrast ratio. So now I have the numbers for the other color contrast that I had that was sufficient. So I'll enter those numbers here. So the color in the front for the text was, I'm entering it now, so bear with me. Oops. All right, so that's the first one. And then the background color was, all right, so as you can see, this would be, the contrast ratio was 8.91 for this one, and it passed. So a lot higher contrast ratio than the previous color, the colors that I had before. And if you're wondering, where do you get the color numbers from? So that's a great question. So if it's a post that has already been posted and maybe I want to check the color contrast, I use an app, and I have an iPhone called Color Picker AR. It's free, and pretty much you upload the picture and then lock the picture in, and then you can use a cursor to scroll over the colors, and it will bring up the color number, and that's what you input in for the background color and the foreground color. And what I like about this too is it shows you how it looks as well for this website tool, right? So that's how you can get the number if you already have maybe posted an image. I will show you in Canva how you can do it. So I'm going to stop sharing and then go into Canva and show you for anyone that creates their own content. All right, so here we are in Canva, and as you can see, I have a demo page up here. So the background is this purplish color, and then the key is a pinkish color. So if I want to change that, then I would click on the color. If I have a background color in mind, I'm going to pull the background color that passed for the contrast checker. So I will copy the background color, and I would insert it where it says try blue or number. So you would insert it in the search bar and then paste, right click and paste. And then it will pull up that exact color. So that's what's nice about the tool as well. Now I want to change the foreground color for the key. So I'm going to go back, and you're only seeing the Canva, but I'm copying the color number for the foreground color. And then same thing, I'll paste the color number in. And there we have it. So the background now is a black, and then the foreground color for the key is like a lighter purple. So that's how you do it if you use Canva. And then that's how you would be able to use those numbers that pass the color contrast from the tool that we use to be able to put it into Canva for your post. All right, so we are going to stop there. That was the last social media key that we were going to review today.